All right, cadets, sit your various appendages down and shut your sensory organs. Yes, that includes you with the quantum consciousness. Cadet Blip, I can see you vibrating with excitement from here. Senior Commander Vex's voice boomed through the lecture hall of the Galactic Command Academy. The commander's forearms were clasped behind his back as he paced across the stage, his silver uniform gleaming under the artificial lights. His deep purple skin had that particular shade of exhaustion that came from dealing with fresh recruits, the kind who thought they knew everything about the universe after completing their basic training. Today's lesson is about why, under absolutely no circumstances, do we conduct training exercises on Deathworld Earth. And before any of you bright sparks ask, yes, this is a real story. No, I'm not making this up for dramatic effect. And yes, I was unfortunately there. A tentative appendage rose from the middle row. But Commander, I thought Earth was just a Class 3 civilization, barely space capable. Vexes let out a long-suffering sigh that made his breathing apparatus whistle. Ah, there it is. The same thing Training Commander Rylax said right before the incident that changed Galcom regulations forever. You see, classification levels don't tell the whole story. Earth isn't dangerous because of its technology, it's dangerous because it's, well, Earth. The commander activated the holographic display, showing a deceptively peaceful image of an Earth forest. Look at this. Looks nice, right? Peaceful? That's what we thought too. But let me tell you something. Everything you see in this image wants to kill you. Those green things, plants, some of them can cause your skin to bubble and blister just by touching them. Those fluffy things flying around, they drink blood. The bigger fluffy things on the ground, they'll eat your face off. A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the lecture hall. Vex's expression didn't change. You think I'm joking? During the incident, we lost 3 high-grade environmental suits to something called a raccoon, not because it was particularly deadly, but because it just really wanted to see what was inside. Pure curiosity. Do you know how terrifying that is? A creature that destroys things just to satisfy its curiosity. The cadets were silent now, their various species-specific expressions of horror visible throughout the room. Before we get to the real story, let me give you a quick rundown of how Earth ended up classified as a death world. Our first survey team landed there about 50 cycles ago. Standard procedure: analyze the environment, catalog the species, assess the dominant civilization. They sent back 12 reports. Want to know what happened to the 13th? Vexes paused for dramatic effect. The surveyor got taken out by something called a vending machine, not a weapon, not a predator, a machine designed to dispense food and drinks. It just fell over. Pure random chance. That should have been our first clue about Earth. It's not just the obviously dangerous things you need to watch out for. Everything is a potential threat. He pulled up another hologram, this one showing the Galactic Command Training Protocols Manual. Now, our training protocols are thorough. We prepare for every situation: hostile environments, extreme gravity, toxic atmospheres. But Earth? Earth doesn't care about protocols. Earth looks at our carefully crafted protocols, laughs, and then throws a moose at you. A cadet near the front, their crystalline form shimmering with confusion, raised a light tendril. Commander, what's a moose? We're getting to that, trust me. It's featuring prominently in this story, along with several other Earth-specific horrors. But first, let me tell you about Training Commander Rylax, who thought it would be an excellent idea to use Earth as a training ground. Rylax, who had clearly lost all 7 of their sensory nodes when they made that decision. Vexes moved to the center of the stage, his expression growing more serious. Because thanks to Rylax's decision, we learned exactly why some planets earned their death world status, and more importantly, we learned why some regulations are written in blood, sweat, and various other bodily fluids that we didn't even know we could produce before visiting Earth. The commander's voice dropped to an ominous tone. So pay attention, cadets, because this story might just save your lives one day. Or at the very least, it'll teach you why you should never, ever trust anything on Earth that looks cute, especially if it's small and has striped fur. Training Commander Rylax. Vexes continued, bringing up a hologram of a tall, willowy figure with bioluminescent spots. Was widely considered one of Galcom's finest strategic minds. Was being the operative word here. Because this brilliant commander looked at all the survey data from Earth and said, and I quote, "How bad could it be?" The commander paused to let that sink in, his antennae twitching with remembered frustration. The initial surveys, conducted from orbit mind you, showed Earth as a Category B training ground. Moderate gravity, breathable atmosphere with slight modifications, manageable wildlife. The survey team had labeled most Earth creatures as generally non-aggressive, unless provoked. Let me tell you something about Earth creatures, they have very, very different definitions of provoked than we do. Vex has pulled up another hologram, this one showing a group of varied alien species in Galcom training armor. This was Squad 7, led by Kara Phoenix. Kara was one of our best graduated top of her class from the Centauri Military Academy, combat veteran of the Rigel confrontation. The squad included tech specialist Zex, a Voltarian who could interface with any known technology, except Earth technology, as we would soon discover, defied all known laws of technical evolution. The hologram zoomed in on a muscular, reptilian figure. Combat specialist Drix, built like a tank and about as subtle as one. He thought his reinforced exoskeleton would protect him from anything Earth could throw at him. Spoiler alert, he was wrong. Medical Officer Nova, probably the only reason anyone survived at all. She had trained in xenobiology for 20 cycles. Earth biology still gave her nightmares. And finally, Scout Blaze, our infiltration expert. His species can literally turn invisible. Not that it helped much when dealing with Earth's wildlife. Turns out many Earth creatures don't hunt by sight anyway. Vex's expression turned pained. Rylax chose them specifically because they were the best, the elite, the ones who could handle anything. The mission brief was simple: land in a remote area, establish a base camp, and complete a series of training exercises. Standard procedure on 1,000 other worlds. He brought up the original mission parameters, the text glowing softly in the air. Look at these assessments. Local fauna primarily herbivorous, minimal threat level tell that to the moose. Weather patterns predictable and moderate hay. Indigenous population concentrated in urban areas. Minimal contact risk. That one was actually true, but by then it hardly mattered. Rylax signed off on the mission with their trademark confidence. Even added a personal note: this will be an excellent opportunity to test our adaptability in a relatively controlled environment. Those words would come back to haunt them in the most spectacular way possible. The commander's voice took on a hint of dark amusement. The truly ironic part. The squad was excited. They saw it as an honor to be the first training group on a new world. Kara Phoenix even gave a speech about making history. Well, they certainly did that, just not in the way they intended. And so, on what Earth calendars called a lovely spring morning, another deceptive Earth term. By the way, Squad 7 prepared to make their landing. Their last transmission to Orbital Command was, conditions perfect. Commencing descent, those were the last words anyone would hear from them for the next 3 days. X's eyes glowed with remembered tension. And that, cadets, is when everything started going wrong in ways that would rewrite our entire protocol handbook. The landing itself, Vexes raised all 4 hands in exasperation. Perfect. Textbook perfect. Squad 7 touched down in what Earth calls Montana, a name that means mountainous, which should have been our second warning. Our first warning should have been that Earth needs thousands of names just for its different types of terrain. The hologram shifted to show a pristine landing site surrounded by towering trees and snow-capped mountains. They landed at dawn. Kara Phoenix's first logged comment was, remarkable similarity to the training simulations. Her last logged comment that same day was, get it off, get it off, get it off. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with their first encounter with Earth's harmless wildlife. About 2 hours after landing, Scout Blaze reported movement in the nearby vegetation. Something small, furry, according to his report, and I quote, aesthetically pleasing in an unthreatening way. Vexes pulled up an image that made several cadets coo-oh in appreciation. This, cadets, is a chipmunk, tiny creature. About this big, he held his fingers a few centimeters apart. Blaze decided to scan it. Standard procedure. The chipmunk decided to scan him back by climbing up his leg, into his environmental suit, and directly into his primary breathing apparatus. The commander paused as several cadets winced. Do you know how hard it is to maintain stealth camouflage while dancing around trying to shake a rodent out of your respiratory systems? Very hard. The rest of the squad found it hilarious. For about 10 seconds. Then the chipmunk's entire family showed up, but that was just the warm-up. The real fun started when tech specialist Zex detected some unusual energy readings. Being the thorough professional she was, she went to investigate. That's when she found the bees. A ripple of confusion went through the lecture hall. Vexis's expression turned grim. Yes, bees. Tiny flying creatures that live in complex social structures and produce a sweet substance that humans eat. Sounds harmless, right? Well, Zex thought so too, right until she realized that these particular bees had built their home inside an old piece of human technology. A rusted truck engine. She tried to interface with the engine. The bees took offense. Now, what the initial survey failed to mention is that Earth insects operate with a hive mind mentality that makes our most advanced swarm intelligence look primitive. And when they feel threatened, they respond with overwhelming force. The sight of a Voltarian tech specialist sprinting through the woods, covered in angry bees, while her suit systems frantically announced unknown biological interface detected, will stay with me forever. The commander's voice took on a tone of grudging respect, but the real highlight, the incident that made Galcom history, was the bear. Ah, I see some of you recognizing that term from your xenobiology classes. But reading about an Earth bear and meeting one are very different experiences. Combat specialist Drix was the first to spot it. Large mammalian predator, approximately 400 kilos, with impressive natural weapons. Drix, being Drix, decided this was an excellent opportunity to test his combat training, after all. His exoskeleton could withstand plasma bolts. Surely it could handle one primitive Earth predator. Vexis activated another hologram, this one showing a massive grizzly bear. Several cadets instinctively backed away from the image. The bear cadets did not care about Drix's exoskeleton. The bear did not care about his combat training. The bear did not even care about his intimidation display, which had once caused a Regelian war chief to surrender on the spot. No, the bear had one simple concern. Drix had set up camp near its favorite fishing spot. What followed was, well, Medical Officer Nova described it as a masterclass in why we should never assume technological superiority equals actual superiority. The bear, you see, had evolved in an environment where everything is trying to kill everything else. Drix had evolved in an environment where rational beings respect displays of strength. The squad found him 2 hours later, stuck headfirst in a tree, his exoskeleton dented in ways our engineers had previously thought impossible. The bear had wandered off, completely uninterested in its victory. Kara Phoenix's official report simply stated, note, Earth bears do not respect protocol. But here's the truly terrifying part. Vexis leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. When they called in their first day's report to Commander Rylax, detailing the chipmunk invasion, the bee attack, and the bear incident, you know what the humans at the nearby ranger station said when they overheard our transmission. The commander straightened up, adopting a casual Earth accent. Oh yeah, sounds like a pretty quiet day in the park. Just wait till you meet the moose. That's when Kara Phoenix made her first command decision that I actually agreed with. She ordered the squad to set up camp for the night on top of their shuttle. High ground, she said, safe ground. Unfortunately, that's also when they discovered another delightful Earth feature. Weather patterns that change faster than a quantum fluctuation. Let me tell you about bad decisions. Vexis continued, shaking his head. In every training manual, every field guide, every basic survival course, we teach one fundamental rule: never split up the squad. But there they were, perched on top of their shuttle. When squad leader Phoenix made an announcement that would go down in Galcom history as the moment everything got worse. We should split up to cover more ground. Vexis mimicked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Scout ahead in different directions. What could possibly go wrong? The commander brought up a tactical display showing 5 dots spreading out from a central point. Tech specialist Zex headed north to find better scanning reception. Combat specialist Drix, his pride still bruised from the bear incident, went east to secure the perimeter. Medical Officer Nova took the western approach to collect biological samples. Scout Blaze slipped south to practice his stealth protocols. And squad leader Phoenix? She stayed at the shuttle to coordinate. That's when they learned about the moose. Vexis paused dramatically, watching his audience lean forward. Now, you might be wondering what's so special about a moose. Let me show you. He projected an image that made several cadets gasp. Yes, that's real. No, it's not genetically modified. That's just how they come on Earth. 2 meters tall at the shoulder, weighing up to 700 kilos, armed with natural head-mounted battering rams. Drix, still nursing his wounded ego, spotted one first. The survey data labeled them as generally peaceful herbivores, so naturally, he decided to approach it, to prove he could handle Earth wildlife after all. The commander's antennae twitched in remembered anxiety. The moose looked at him. He looked at the moose. And then, according to his panicked transmission, the peaceful herbivore started charging like a malfunctioning battle mech. The best part, this moose chased Drix straight into what Medical Officer Nova would later describe as the green patch of doom, but what humans call poison ivy now. Our environmental suits are designed to protect against acid, radiation, and plasma burns. But somehow, someway, this simple Earth plant found a way through. Vexes brought up the medical logs. By the time Nova found him, Drix was experiencing what she logged as unprecedented dermatological reactions on all 3 skin layers simultaneously. In simple terms, he was itching in dimensions we didn't know existed. Meanwhile, tech specialist Zex had climbed a hill for better readings, only to discover why Earth metals conduct electricity so well. The hard way. During a thunderstorm. Did you know Earth regularly experiences atmospheric electrical discharges powerful enough to overload our best shielding? Neither did Zex. The hologram showed a weather pattern forming with frightening speed. Earth weather cadets, it doesn't gradual. 1 minute, clear skies. Next minute, the atmosphere itself is trying to kill you. The humans call it a pop-up thunderstorm. I call it proof that Earth's atmosphere has a sense of humor. A very bad sense of humor. Let me paint you a picture. Zex is on a hill. Nova is treating Drix's interdimensional rash. Blaze is somewhere being stealthy. And Phoenix is at the shuttle trying to make sense of everything. That's when the storm hit. Not just rain that would be too simple for Earth. No. This storm brought what humans call golf ball-sized hail. Several cadets looked confused. Vexes clarified. Imagine frozen water projectiles, roughly this size. He held up a small sphere, falling from the sky at terminal velocity. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. The shuttle's hull actually dented. Military-grade alloys, dented by frozen water. But the real crisis? That came from Scout Blaze's discovery. Remember him? The stealth expert? He found what the survey team had labeled a small ground-dwelling colony of social insects. Humans call them fire ants. Want to know why? The commander didn't wait for an answer. Because when they bite you, and they will bite you, it feels like you're being burned alive. Blaze found this out after his camouflage systems malfunctioned in the rain. And he stepped right into their colony. Did you know that some Earth insects can survive inside environmental suits? Neither did Blaze. So now we had one squad leader trying to coordinate a rescue in a hailstorm, one combat specialist having an allergic reaction that defied xenobiology, one tech specialist who'd been struck by lightning and was now glowing slightly, one medical officer out of antidote patches, and one scout dancing through the rain covered in highly aggressive burning insects. Vex's voice took on a note of disbelief. And you know what the worst part was? According to the humans we eventually contacted for rescue, this was, and I quote, just a regular Tuesday in Montana. The storm intensified. The moose was still out there, presumably looking for Drix. The fire ants had called for reinforcements. The poison ivy had spread to Nova through contact with Drix's suit, and somewhere in the distance they could hear bears. Multiple bears. Squad leader Phoenix made the call that would ultimately save their lives, even though it violated about 30 different Galcom protocols. She activated the shuttle's emergency beacon, the one designed for catastrophic events and planetary evacuations. The commander's expression turned solemn. The response from Orbital Command was immediate: confirm emergency status in Phoenix. Abandoning all military protocol. Sent back just 3 words: Earth is happening while waiting for evacuation coordinates. Vexes continued, pacing across the stage. Squad leader Phoenix made what she thought was a reasonable decision to set up a proper base camp. The storm had passed, after all. How much worse could it get? He paused, all 4 hands clasped together. Remember those words, cadets. On Earth, things can always get worse. They found what appeared to be an ideal camping spot. Flat ground near water, with those strange earth trees providing cover. The humans later told us we'd chosen a designated camping ground, apparently. Humans are so aware of their planet's hostile nature that they mark safe zones for sleeping. We should have taken that as a warning. Tech specialist Zex, still crackling with residual electricity, started setting up the atmospheric stabilizers. That's when we learned about mosquitoes. The commander projected an image of a tiny insect that made several cadets snort in disbelief. Yes, that's actual size. Tiny blood-drinking insects that can penetrate environmental suits. How? We still don't know. Our top scientists are stumped. But that's not the impressive part. The impressive part is that they hunt in swarms, very, very large swarms. Picture this: Zex is working on the stabilizers when she notices a dark cloud approaching. Not another storm worse. Thousands upon thousands of mosquitoes drawn by our body heat and carbon dioxide emissions. The swarm was so dense it showed up on our tactical scanners as a biological mass. Vexes activated an audio recording. The sound of high-pitched buzzing filled the lecture hall, making several cadets cover their auditory organs. That's not even the full volume. Squad leader Phoenix described it as psychological warfare. The mosquitoes found every microscopic gap in our suits. They learned, cadets. Each wave probed our defenses more effectively than the last. We had to admire their tactical approach, even as we were being eaten alive. Medical officer Nova tried using the suit's external sterilization system. The mosquitoes dodged the spray. Combat specialist Drix, still itching, attempted to use his plasma repulsors. The mosquitoes used the heat signature to target him more effectively. Scout Blaze's stealth systems? The mosquitoes didn't care. They hunted by heat and carbon dioxide, remember. The commander's antennae drooped, and that's when we met the humans. 3 of them, walking through our carefully established perimeter like our security systems didn't exist. They were carrying primitive camping gear and making a lot of noise. Our first thought? We'd been caught. Our mission was compromised. Galactic security protocols were at risk. Squad leader Phoenix prepared for emergency memory wiping procedures. But the humans? They took one look at our swarm situation and said, "Rough night for camping, huh? Here, try this." Vexes held up a small canister. This, cadets, is what humans call bug spray, a chemical weapon they casually carry around for leisure activities. They showed us how to create something called a smudge fire that keeps insects away. They offered us these things called citronella candles. And then this is the truly terrifying part. They sat down and started telling stories about their own camping experiences. Stories that made our day seem tame. Tales of something called Boy Scout trips that sounded more harrowing than our military training. One of them, pointing at Drix's rash, said, "Oh yeah, you found the poison ivy. Tricalamine lotion." They had medicine specifically for toxic plants, just casually in their camping kit. Then they told us about the time they had to fight off a mountain lion with a camping chair, about getting caught in a flash flood during what was supposed to be a peaceful fishing trip, about the time their entire campsite was raided by what they called trash pandas, which we later learned were the same raccoons that had destroyed our equipment. The humans treated all of this as normal, fun, even. They were on this death world voluntarily, for recreation. Vexis's voice dropped to a whisper. And that's when we realized something crucial about Earth and its inhabitants. The planet wasn't just a death world. It was a death world that had produced a species that viewed mortal danger as entertainment. A species that went camping for fun in areas they knew contained bears. The humans left us with some bug spray, advice about storing food in bear-proof containers, and a casual warning about something called ticks. We were too afraid to ask what ticks were. By then, the emergency evacuation team was on its way, and we had just one goal: survive until extraction. The Galcom Emergency Response Team. Vexis announced, his voice filled with a mix of pride and second-hand embarrassment, arrived in what they called a textbook rescue formation: 3 shuttles, top-of-the-line medical equipment, and a full decontamination unit. They even brought a xenobiologist specializing in hostile environments. They thought they were prepared. The commander pulled up a new hologram showing the rescue ships descending through Earth's atmosphere. They weren't prepared. First problem: landing zones. The response team chose what their scanners showed as perfect landing spots. Turns out they were actually something humans call swamps. 2 rescue shuttles had to be abandoned when they started sinking into the ground. Yes, cadets on Earth. Even the ground tries to eat your ships. The 3rd shuttle managed to land near our position, but by then, our new human friends had taught us something vital about Earth nights: they get cold. Very cold. The entire squad had caught something humans call a common cold, though I assure you, there was nothing common about how it affected our various species. Picture the scene: the rescue team, in their pristine environmental suits, approaching our camp. They find Drix, now glowing slightly from an interaction between his rash and some human medicine called calamine lotion tech specialist Zex, still conducting static electricity, creating small lightning bolts between her antennae. Medical Officer Nova sneezing in 5 different tones. Scout Blaze visible for once, because his stealth systems had been gummed up by something called tree sap. And Squad Leader Phoenix? She was calmly sharing something called marshmallows with our human camping friends, having apparently given up on standard protocols entirely. Vexes shook his head, all 4 arms gesturing in remembered frustration. The rescue team leader, Commander Pax, took 1 step into our camp and immediately slipped on wet ground. Their highly advanced stabilization systems were not designed for mud. While they were helping Pax up, something called a skunk wandered into their formation. The commander paused, his antennae quivering. We tried to warn them. The humans tried to warn them. But Commander Pax, determined to maintain proper rescue protocols, attempted to scan the creature. The results. Well, let's just say that shuttles required extensive decontamination. The smell penetrated everything. We had to abandon most of our equipment. But the true chaos? That started when our common cold virus decided it liked the rescue team too. Do you know what happens when a human virus encounters 6 different alien physiologies and then mutates? The quarantine department still uses it as a case study. The evacuation itself resembled what humans call a slapstick comedy, the rescue team slipping in mud, the squad sneezing in harmony, everyone trying to avoid the skunk, and the local wildlife gathering to watch. I swear that bear from earlier came back just to laugh at us. As we finally made it to the rescue shuttle, our human camping friends waved goodbye and said, "Come back in summer." That's when the real fun starts. The rescue team thought they were threatening us. We knew better, they were warning us. Vex's expression turned serious. The incident resulted in 17 new Galcom protocols, 3 medical quarantine procedures, and 1 very strongly worded memo about Earth's classification as a death world. But most importantly, it taught us something crucial about Earth and its inhabitants. They don't just survive there. They don't just adapt. They take all that deadly terrain, all those hostile creatures, all those extreme conditions, and they turn it into a hobby. They go camping, for fun. And that, cadets, Commander Vexus said, straightening his uniform, is why Galcom Regulation 7249B now explicitly states under no circumstances shall Earth be used for training exercises, recreational activities, or casual visits without a minimum of 3 months psychological preparation and signed waivers acknowledging the possibility of death by moose. The commander gestured to a wall of honors in the lecture hall, where 5 environmental suits were displayed in various states of destruction. The original suits worn by Squad 7 are now part of our permanent exhibition. Note the bear claw marks, the mosquito punctures, and yes, that green stain is still spreading after all these years. Squad leader Phoenix and her team? They all received the Order of Exceptional Survival, a medal created specifically because of this incident. They also got permanent positions as survival instructors here at the Academy. Though strangely, they all requested offices on the ground floor, as far from Earth plants as possible. Vexus's voice took on a tone of deep respect. But here's the real lesson, cadets. It's not just about survival. It's about understanding that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't what's trying to kill you. It's underestimating what's trying to kill you while it invites you to toast marshmallows. The humans call Earth their home. They go hiking, camping, and something called extreme sports there. They know every deadly thing on their planet and decide to have picnics anyway. That's not just bravery, that's not just adaptation, that's a level of casual insanity that commands respect. The commander's antennae gave one final twitch. So remember, when you see that Death World classification, it's not just a warning about the planet. It's a warning about the kind of species that would evolve there and call it home.